Hello and welcome to the Dre and Dre Show. I'm your host Dre.
And I'm your boy Jay.
And tell us what you got for us this week.
Oh man, we had I would say a sad and disparaging week in our country last week. With the events that happened in Charlottesville, Virginia, has a lot of people on the edge. Just wondering what direction is this country headed in. So what I really want to get into is I want you to think about and reflect on Rodney King, right? We had to watch riots. Everybody remember the video of Rodney King. He was beaten by I think it was 4 or 5 cops. But when he was on the courthouse steps, they asked him a question, and the first thing Rodney King said, "Can we all just get along?" So my question to you is, Charlottesville versus the Rodney King theory. Can we all ever truly get along?
I would say yes. I think it's actually more possible and plausible in today's America than it was in his at that time. I feel as a whole America is more engaging and more tolerant than it's ever been. With what happened in Charlottesville, I feel like you really have to understand that there's a minority of people who have some hateful and bigoted ideas, and some people that are sentimental towards them. Now, with that being said, I think we have to always keep in mind those people are a minority, and most people don't feel the way that they do. And I think we really have to address a few things, but I think we really have to acknowledge how far we've come in this country. One of the things you'll notice with the Charlottesville incident, a lot of those protesters, they weren't black people, they weren't Latinos, they weren't Asians, they were white people. Heather Hyde, condolences to her and her family, but she was a young white lady, and I think that says something. That in these days and times, more of them are just as outraged by this as us. So I think we've come a long way, and I think even on things where we haven't reached a consensus, I think we're more willing to have conversations now. So I think it's not quite where it needs to be, but overall heading in the right direction.
I agree with you from the standpoint of, man, Jim Crow was 60 years ago, 65.
Yeah.
So, and it's almost like kind of, in a way, it agrees with Trump on the media, right? Because this country still has a lot of problems, and it has a lot of issues, and a lot of niche groups that have outdated and devilish viewpoints. But I believe that a majority of this country agrees to the fact of, yes, I don't have to agree on everything you stand with, but I also do not have to hate you as a person for something simple as a race or religion. So as far as the Rodney King theory, we all can never get along because it's human nature to disagree. But the vast majority can make it where we preach tolerance. In the, like I said, I read an article and they put it in such a beautiful way. They said to truly be a tolerant country, you have to be intolerant to those who are intolerant to others. Meaning, these fascist groups, these racists, these anti-Semitics, these bigoted peoples, while they do have free speech, we cannot afford to let those type of viewpoints gain traction. Because those viewpoints, while they say, well, you should be tolerant of us, they're preaching intolerance. And that we cannot support.
No, wholeheartedly, I would agree. Bigotry, supremacy has no place in this country. Not in this day and time. One of the things that I often I often told some of my foreign friends in college, because we had a lot of people that came from the Caribbean. We had several people from European countries, France, England. We had a couple of Spaniards. And, you know, I talked to them. I met them through a friend of a friend, but I talked to them about, you know, their country. And, you know, when they asked me what makes America great, I'm pretty unabashed about it. I was like, look, America isn't perfect. But the thing that you have to realize with America is the way it's set up, the way our Constitution is written, the way our checks and balances and the way our decorum and laws are passed, it's set up so that it can change and adapt with the times. It's not perfect, but it has the tools to be so. And I feel that's ultimately the promise of America. America ultimately is what we make it. And with America, we can either let these values that people have bled and died for, we can either say that they're not important and let it go to the dustbin of history, or we can be vigilant and ever wary of groups such as neo-Nazis, white supremacists, KKK, so on and so forth, and say that, look, you have no place here, not in my country.
And, man, you brought up a very powerful point. And it's just, man, I hate to give the quote-unquote alt-right even the significance or the talking points of saying their names, because they were far outclassed, they were far outnumbered, and I think when you focus on them so much and you call their names, you're giving them more power than they really have. They are truly a niche group in this country. This country, while not perfect, definitely doesn't have the most clean history. It's still a country where I believe that we are the most tolerable as far as with the amount of races we have, one of the most tolerant countries on the earth. I truly believe that. And I always had a viewpoint, and it was that it's hard for a lot of people in the Afro-American community, to be patriotic. But I always looked at it like this. What the tenets that this country was founded upon, I can be patriotic towards this country. It's the people who takes those tenets and places them in their own hand and gives them their own meaning that messes it up for everybody. Even though this country was founded with slavery being present, the Bill of Rights said all men are created equal. But it's the error in humans, right, that messes things up. So I believe that we have a great country. I believe that even though we all might not be best friends, we can truly all get along and understand each other.
That's very eloquent, bro. So let me ask you this. Do you feel that with the rise of, I'm not going to call them alt-right, they're white supremacists. Alt-right makes them sound like any other group. They aren't like any other group. So do you think with the rise of these white supremacists that perhaps it's indicative of other people feeling this way and not saying it? Or not, for instance, someone may harbor these views, but they're not willing to go get a tiki torch and rally around a statue of a Confederate general? Or do you think it's more along the lines of, this is the death throes of this type of racism in America, and that these people are becoming more and more marginalized, and that eventually they're going to be ever increasingly more and more fringe?
That's a great question. How could I put this? I believe, okay, so basically what the fascists and the neo-Nazis and the alt-right, alternative right people, they say is that it's a war on white America.
Mm-hmm.
And what's going on in the country is that I think by 2050, we're going to be a minority-majority country. Meaning, while Caucasians will still be, white Caucasians will still be the biggest ethnic or racial group in the country, the majority of the country will not be non-Hispanic white, okay? Mm-hmm. So it's like, what they're saying is their way of life is dying out. And it is. But the difference is the way of life that they want is one that sees them being supreme to other ethnic and racial groups in America. And that's the problem. To more answer your question, I believe in all large groups of non-Hispanic Caucasians or white people that would say that they do sympathize and empathize with the alt-right, the ideals of the alt-right. But the difference is when you come to the standpoint of saying these people don't deserve to be in this country. These people deserve to be murdered. They deserve to be killed. They deserve to be chained up and treated like dogs. They deserve to be re-enslaved. I do not believe that a significant portion of this country believes that. But what the alt-right is banking on is the little bit that can be agreed with the more populous sect of the nation. Saying, hey, look at our job. What happened to our jobs? Basically, what happened to our standing in society? You can't, this. But when you look at them, man, no, I don't believe that. I believe they're a fringe group, man. In my opinion, they're a fringe group. And I think they're even dying out more and more every year, in my opinion.
Okay.
So let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. Going back to what I said about the alt-right, their quote-unquote calling card is that being white in America, right? Mm-hmm. It's becoming hostile in a way, or it's becoming increasingly. I'm looking for the word, but
I think I know what you're trying to say. And I know we have some white followers and viewers, and I think the best thing, the best way to sum it up is a lot of the people that are nervous, in a sense, they're rightfully so, because people naturally have a fear of the unknown. Where I feel their fear isn't founded, and where I feel that they have nothing to worry about, is this. If I went to every single last white person I know and asked them, like, look, rattle off like 3-4 things that you want out of life, I'm pretty sure they'd say, yo, I want to have a good job, want to be able to take care of my wife and kids, want to have a good house, and I want to have enough money that, after I busted my ass for this 40 hours a week, I can relax on the weekends and take a nice vacation. And here's the thing. If I ask that to an Asian, if I ask that to a black man, if I ask that to an Arab, if I ask that to anybody,
same answer.
99% of them gonna give me the same answer. So I feel like, in essence, it's a fear of the unknown, because in some ways they feel that they're losing power and influence. And just to be completely forthright and honest, yeah, it is. That is the case. This is what I think a lot of people fear. I think they are fearing that they're going to be relegated to the caste of the past, of the Jim Crow era South, and the role that black people were placed in, and all people of color were placed in. And that's simply not the case. What you have here is a rebalancing of the scales in society and the social view. So when you acknowledge and notice that the scales has been like this and it's gradually becoming more and more like this, what's happening is those systems of oppression, those systemic things are being slowly torn down. And that's what's going away. Things are becoming more equal and fair. It's not that white folks are taking a back seat to anybody. Like, nobody, honestly, anybody that's been reigned over, anybody that's been oppressed, I don't really believe wants to oppress anybody. They really just want to be left alone and have a good life. And that's the difference, I think. And I think that's what you were trying to get at. And that's the difference, what I think, between a lot of white folks who feel that a little bit of uneasiness about the changing demographics of the country are feeling. And
I'm glad you said that, because really I was cautious of saying that, because it's hard to verbalize that. When you do verbalize, you have to be very careful what you're saying. But you said how I felt. It's like I understand it. I understand where it comes from. When your way of life is changing, that's a scary thing.
Yeah.
So you went from being the calling call of the country to in 30 years being in the country where the average person looks nothing like you. That could be very terrifying.
Yeah.
But once again, the tenets and ideals of this country supersedes race, supersedes ethnicity. It's all men. It's not all black men. It's not all white men. It's not all Asian. It's not all African, Latino, Hispanic, or whatever you want to call people. All men are created equal. So instead of looking at that like something that's scary, something that's coming that's going to change your way of life and change your being, look at it as America, the true meaning of manifest destiny. We're not going from coast to coast, but we're going from every end on the spectrum of the beautiful people on planet Earth. And we're becoming the true melting pot that this country, in essence, was really designed to be. So it's founded by immigrants. That's why I say, that's what I mean by designed to be. It's founded by immigrants. So it's like, I understand it, but I do believe my Caucasian and white brothers and sisters, it's more love than there is hate.
Oh,
and we saw that today with 15,000 people showing up in Boston. And if you go back and look at Charlottesville, look at the pictures. As you said in your opening monologue, look at the pictures. I dare say I saw more white people than black people.
Definitely.
So it's...
Definitely.
So, and that's why I also get angry, and I hope I'm not rambling, but I also get angry when you have, as a black man, I understand the anger. There's a quote I think Adams Baldwin said, to be semi-conscious and to be black in America means to be in a rage at all times. Something to that effect. I understand it, but you can't say that you hate a group of people, because then you're no better than the fascists and the Nazis. Because you can't say that when, even if you go back to Jim Crow, white people bled too. If you go back today, they bled in Charlottesville. A young lady died. She didn't look like me, but she refused to let hate win. And that's what this country is about, in my opinion.
Definitely. Well executed, brother. Any other points that you wanted to hit?
Peace, man. Peace. 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 Where there's hate, there can be no peace. But where there's peace, there can never be hate. Think about it.
Well executed. Thank you. This has been another edition of the Dre and Dre Show. I'm your host, Dre.
I'm your boy, Jay.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And follow us at the social media links down below. Peace. Good night, America.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face. Tell me that you love me.